Hello, friends, and welcome to Service of Change's Changecast, your podcast for change. I'm your host, Dennis Nappy II, with Service of Change, where small changes among the masses can have a massive impact around the world. Our show this evening, we are going to freestyle. We had to pull a last-minute audible. Our guest may be joining us shortly. We're not sure, so we're just going to kind of go with the flow here tonight. But no matter what, we're going to have some interesting and thought-provoking discussion because, as our motto says, we're trying to inspire that positive change throughout the world. And with people like Joel and I, and tweets from Miss Lori Latimer, we always have something to say. I think it's rare when we run out of words. So let me bring on my partner in crime, my esteemed co-host, Joel, the provocateur Schaefer. Joel, what's going on tonight, dude?
I am blessed and highly favored, as our friend Dr. Vibe would say.
You know, such a good guy, Dr. Bob. I should reach out to him. I still take, we haven't spoken to him in a while, but I still take inspiration from just our interactions with him, a few months back, man. Really talented, really caring, co-host or host and interviewer.
Definitely. And I just, lately I've just been feeling less of a provocateur and more of a, trying to be more of an inspirer. Not that one is better than the other, but I think life is full of stages.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm kind of in a stage where I feel like I can back off from some of the provocativeness a little bit.
I've noticed that in some
Yeah.
of your threads.
A lot of it was because my own feelings and thoughts about lots of things were kind of in flux. And as I get a little more, I mean, I'll always be open, but as I get a little more centered in some of, like, I've found some tentative conclusions, I guess you could say, or some, like, a base. I feel like I have a baseline of belief that I can, like, feel some security in. So I was really trying to challenge myself, not just challenge other people. So
Right.
in
Right.
a lot of the provocation that I was engaging in. So.
Yeah, and you did. I mean, you even challenged me on a few things, and I think a lot of goods come out of that.
Thank you.
And as for your new, I guess your new approach to some of your Facebook interactions, I gotta say you're an intelligent dude, man. Like I look at some of your stuff and I'm reading it, I'm vibing, and you even do this on the show, and I just don't. We don't have the time for me to get into it and kind of poke some humor at it, but. Dude, you must say at least 3 to 4 words a night that I'm like, okay, let me use my context clues to understand what Joel's saying because you're just on a different level, man. You're a smart guy, and I'm glad that you're part of the show because you make me feel smarter sometimes, but make me feel dumber sometimes. But I feel smart by being associated with you, So
Well, I definitely, like, I'm in certain stressful interpersonal situations that require, like, emotional intelligence and require tactics and strategy, and I'm like, what would Dennis do? What would Dennis do? So it's a two-way street.
there you go. Yeah, I think we're definitely learning and growing from one another, so it's great. But yeah, I mean, my hat off to you for your new approach on Facebook. I think I jumped in on something the other day. I don't know if you want to talk about your project. I know you put it on the thread, but we can gloss over it if it's not something to put on the air. That's fine.
No, I'm willing. I didn't want to take up too much time with it.
Yeah, no,
Um,
you know what? Let's before we do that, let's at least say hi to Miss Lori. She's going to be
sure.
working the tweets for us tonight. Lori Latimer, are you with us, my friend?
I am, sir.
How
I
are you
like it
tonight?
when you. I'm good. I like when you call me Miss Lori because I feel like we're in an elementary school classroom and you want to make sure everyone respects me.
I am a teacher. I do that, without even thinking about it. So, Miss Lori, but we got some big stuff coming up for you. The Art of Service collection of haiku poems. That's coming out in a week from Saturday. Are you
Yes.
excited?
I'm starting to get excited because I mean a lot of my friends are really, just pumped to read the book and recently, a friend of mine read the proof that I had, and she gave me some really good feedback. So now I'm like, oh, maybe, maybe it is awesome.
This
So
this is an awesome and an inspiring book, and I hope it gets the attention it deserves. And speaking of which, I know you and I talked about this before we went on the air, but it's available for pre-order right now for 99 cents. And actually, if you're through the Google Hangouts link, Let me pull it up here. On the right-hand side, if you're watching through the Google Hangout, you won't see it on YouTube, but there's a link right there. You can pre-order it. It's just 99 cents for the Kindle version. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, we want the paper. I love to hold the book in my hands. But to support Lori, spend the 99 cents, because the way this works is the more pre-sales that we get, that's all going to count on the first day of sales. And if we can get her a large number of again 99-cent sales in that first day for her book, it's going to boost her sales ranking. It's going to boost her exposure. I mean, Lori really deserves to be in that top sellers bracket. I mean, this book is that good. And given that Service of Change is a low budget operation or a no budget operation, sometimes we rely on our listeners and our viewers and our readers to support us that way. And that's a great way to support Lori for a great cause. For the 99 cents, you can still get the the paperback. It's definitely going to be at a reasonable price. Lori and I still have to talk about that, but it's going to be a very affordable price for that as well. So please consider doing that. Support Lori. Help boost that sales ranking. Help make her number one, because that's where she deserves to be, because this is such a beautiful project. Don't you think, Lori?
I do. I mean, it was very organic, and it really, I think it made me kind of appreciate what our work is a lot more, to kind of just have a formal collection to throw out there to the universe. It made me realize that, like, our words are important. So I'm excited.
Good stuff, Lori. And to our listeners out there, tune in next week, the Thursday before the big launch. We're going to have Miss Lori herself as our guest, talking about The Art of Service, a collection of haiku poems. So we're going to leave it there and let you think about it. But please get your pre-orders in. You can look for it on Amazon.com as well, or go to ServiceChange.com. Look at our social media feeds, Facebook.com/ServiceOfChange, or at ServiceOfChange, or at Dennis Nappy II, NAPPIII, or at Lori Latimer 1, the number 1. All ways you can find The Art of Service. And let's not forget latattack.wordpress.com. Latimer Attacks. There we go. So keep that in mind. Please support Lori for a great project. And Lori's going to be out there on the tweets, so please hit her up. Let her know what your thoughts are on our show this evening, because we love that interaction. So, Lori, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
Alrighty. All right, Joel, let's jump back into your project that you're talking about. I was excited when I read this. I think was it yesterday, today that you put that up there?
Last night, yes. Last night.
Last night. Okay. Tell us about it. What do you got going on?
So, I had to write fictional stuff in the past. I actually did write something fictional. I completed it, but it's kind of not. It's been so long that I wrote it. I've kind of resigned myself that I'm not going to necessarily. I might, but not right now. Go back and like retool it. That like the best thing to do is just to, as directly as possible, like just talk about like I know, which is my own journey, and because it has been an interesting journey. I mean, often when people kind of an implication that you've lived some kind of spectrum. And I don't think I've lived necessarily especially.
We're having a real bad connection issue with you. I'm sorry. Are you still with us?
Oh.
You still there? I can't hear you too clearly. So why don't you do this? Why don't you jump off for a minute and then sign back in, see if that's going to fix it, and I'll try to freestyle, and keep things going here. There's a news story that I wanted to cover anyway, so I will. I'll just talk about that real quick if you want to sign out and then sign back in. All right, Joel just left us for a minute. My apologies again. We are not a low-budget operation. We are a no-budget operation, so we're working with what we got here.
We're scrappy.
Yeah, we're scrappy. I'm scrappy nappy, I guess, apparently. So, but by all means, I wanted to jump into something that I saw in the news on a website that I enjoy called unknowncountry.com. It's Whitley Strieber's website, and they got a lot of, I guess, considered alternative news, but Whitley Strieber's an author and a researcher that I respect tremendously. And their article that they had the other day was "A Mainstream Photojournalist Captures a UFO." So, the article opened up and says, what happens when a distinguished, highly reputable photojournalist with creds from the New York Times, Daryl Der Spiegel, Marie Claire, Time Magazine, and other prestigious journals, sees photographs something he in the sky. He sees and photographs something in the skies he cannot identify. Well, he wrote about it and he published it. And he's got a picture of this thing, and he said this thing was changing shape. He also is somewhat of an expert on identifying aircraft. He's got some kind of background in aviation and flight. So this is a really credible guy who's identified an aircraft that's saying, there's no way this is within our realm of capability and technology. What is it? So I found that to be quite the interesting article that, somebody mainstream who was previously a skeptic, I believe, is now sitting there saying, hey, there's something up there I can't identify it. I can't explain what it is. So definitely something to check out. Go to unknowncountry.com and you can read that article for yourselves. I want to give them a plug. Not that they need a plug from someone like me, but it's definitely a site that I appreciate and respect. They're a genuine site, and they put out some good stuff. So who knows? Let us know your thoughts on it. What do you think a UFO is? I'd love to hear your responses. Hit us up on Twitter, on Facebook. Joel, are you with us? I see you're back now. How we doing? And we have silence. I can hear him in the background, but I don't know. Joel, you with us? Okay. Well, let me just keep freestyling. Joel, if you hear my voice at any point in time, please feel free to interrupt. And he left again, and he's going to be coming right back. To our listeners out there, please stay with us. I'm trying to entertain you. Would you like me to do a song and a dance? No, but it's been one of those.
I have a question for you, Dennis.
Go ahead, Lori.
Okay, so Earth Day was this week.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And I know that you really, think about the environment and are someone who loves the garden and, be very self-sufficient that way. I'm just wondering, since you have little ones, did you guys observe Earth Day in any kind of way?
That's a great question, and not directly, not in the way I wanted to, just because things have been a little bit hectic here, as they always are. I was disappointed in myself for not acknowledging it publicly through the website and through the social media feeds and stuff. But what we do have going on is there's we sprouted some seeds about 2 weeks ago. My son and my wife and I. My daughter just kind of looks at them. She's too young to engage. Yeah. But these seeds are growing so fast. So we've been working with sprouting the seeds and stuff like that, and the cycle of life. And actually, a pretty neat story. I don't know if this fits the Earth Day theme, but it does fit the cycle of life theme. My father was a big fisherman, and we just had opening day of trout season up where we live, and because it was something I did with my dad, it's a special event for me, going fishing and stuff. But because of the way, I guess, my worldview has changed, I feel very conflicted over going fishing. I feel bad about it because there's a life involved there,
Right.
And but it's like I got to help. My son helped me get the fishing rods ready the night before, and that was something every single year I did with my dad, and it was such an awesome experience to have my son get all our stuff ready, and I got to teach him and have the same conversations my dad used to have with me. I put some pictures up on Facebook about it and stuff. So that was a really neat experience. And then, over the weekend, he caught 3 fish, on his own. And, they're just little ones. We let them go. Yeah. But then I ended up catching a trout. My father-in-law was there too, so that was neat. We had the 3 generations of men, fishing and passing it on and stuff. So it was a really neat experience. And I took the trout home and we prepared it and ate it. And, I felt so bad when I took this trout out of the water, and I looked at it and I said, I knew I was going to kill this thing. I knew I was going to eat it. And it really, it tore me up. I was nauseous about it. And I'm like, I never had this issue, but I felt so bad for this thing,
Do you think it was because you were so close to the source? Like, not when you go to the store and you buy, chicken or beef and someone's already done all the work. Was it just,
yes,
because you were in control?
Yeah, I knew I had to kill it, and then I was saying, is this necessary? Why am I doing this? And so I brought it home, and I had to clean the fish with my son, and I said, my son's going to witness this. He's got to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you clean the fish, and the fish it was basically dead, but I had to cut its head off. So I did it quick. I have a real sharp knife. I cut its head off really quick. And I'm talking to my son about this. I said, look, bud, this is what we have to do. We're going to eat the fish, because every night I have my son, give thanks for what we're eating in the capacity of not in the, prayer and grace way that most people are used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll look at his food and I'll say, okay, you have chicken, so I want you to be thankful to that chicken, because that chicken gave its life for you to eat it, and we're eating rice, and that comes from earth. So, and he'll say, like, thank you earth, thank you chicken, because I want him to appreciate where he's getting the food from, because I think we're so far disconnected from that. So after I, killed the fish ultimately, and my son, he was just real quiet watching it. I prepared it, I cooked it, and it was actually a delicious fish. The best I've ever prepared, and the best I think I've ever tasted. After I ate it, because I did my own little meditation on the fish and stuff, I felt a lot better about it, because I felt that, well, I eat food every night. I eat chicken, I eat whatever, and I took that fish's life with as much dignity as I possibly could.
Yes.
I didn't torture it. I caught it, and shortly thereafter, it was gone. And then I ate it. I didn't waste anything. I taught my son about the cycle of life. So I walked away with a much better feeling. I felt like, well, at least I had the respect to look this thing in the eye, to hold it, and take its life myself before I ate it, as opposed to going to a store, and buying something that has come from a slaughterhouse that was lived in a tiny cage. You know what I mean? So I felt a little bit better about it. I don't know if that's very Earth Day friendly, but
Yeah, no, I think so, because I think, with Earth Day, we get limited to, plant a tree, and that's how we
right,
observe Earth Day, when, you know, our ecosystems are a part of the earth, and the relationship that we have with not just plants, but also with animals,
right.
and, how just the whole process of how we nourish our bodies from food, and what we do to keep the earth intact, so that we can continue to have plants and animals for us to
Yep.
keep
It's
going.
it's just tough. I mean, in through my book, I Am Human, like, I struggle with that concept. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I hate the fact that we have to kill something in order to live. Like, that's
Yeah.
really hard for me. And
Right.
I don't know that I can give up meat at this point. But
But
every
then,
day I think about it. I try. I just can't do it at this point. But I
like,
struggle with it.
is it too far reach to say, but then you die, and if you don't get too many chemicals pumped into you to preserve you, you decompose, and you're like food for trees and grass, and I mean, is that? I
Yeah,
guess the trees aren't murdering you, so it
that's
is
just it.
different. But
But well, but according to my book, something, there's a parasite that's siphoning off our life anyway. So I feel like a central part of that system. Um, Joel keeps signing in and out. He's having some computer trouble tonight. But yeah, so I feel like, again, not the top of that system, but I feel like I'm a part of that system, and it's
Mhm.
humbling. But at the same time, it kind of sucks. I think the whole design is terrible, and unfortunately, I have no choice but to be a part of that or die.
Yeah,
'Cause I
well,
gotta eat.
yeah. I mean, yeah, because I guess the thing is, you know, if you stop eating animals, then where does it stop? Because if you think that plants haven't, they have any kind of, sentience, then
Hmm.
you'll feel guilty even being vegan.
Well, that's why I got so frustrated, is because I came across that research, that shows plants have a measurable response when someone intends to do them harm. So as I was like, man, everything is and there are people out there that will say everything is conscious. You talk to the ancients, and they say everything has, a, like you said, a sentience, and everything has some level of consciousness or awareness. We just may not be able to perceive or detect it. So um, that's a difficult thing for me to deal with. When you step back and go, that's the design. we got to eat something to survive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't win, so I just had to try to make peace. So I at least felt okay being like, well, at least I looked you in the eye and took your life and ate you, as opposed to
Yeah.
having someone else do it and then going to the store. So let me see if I can get
Sure.
Joel. Joel's popping in and out. Joel, can you hear us? We're not ignoring you. We see you coming in and out. I don't know if he can hear us or not, but we're getting nothing from you. It sucks. That's frustrating. Well, if you can hear me, Joel, because I definitely can hear you, don't stress. We got this. Oh, he's gone. He hung up again.
Oh,
The no budget
yeah.
operation. Here we go, man. It's just a night where nothing's working out the way we wanted it to tonight.
That's okay.
We were talking about something else though. You're talking about Earth Day. I don't remember now, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I know your son's very young, but
Hmm.
to introduce him to that concept, I think is great, because if he can grasp, any sense of life and death, he can even kind of begin forming his own opinions about.
Exactly. And you know, Lori, in my opinion, that's the real revolution right there. Is teaching my kids a different way of thought, a different way of thinking from the mainstream. You know, because I think that Western thought is so polluted right now. You know, we're in the quick fix. If it's not my problem, I don't care about it. Give me a pill and I'll be okay. You know, type of mindset. And so I just try to raise my kids so they're aware. But as a parent, you know, you're always wondering, am I doing the right thing? Not by bringing my son up this way. Is he going to be picked on for expressing
Right.
this type of view when he goes to, you know, interact? It's just a horrible cycle.
Right. Like if he becomes too radical,
Right.
will he be? I mean, I remember when I was an undergrad, I at UMass, which is like hippie central,
Uh
and
huh.
I was at lunch and kind of like eavesdropping on some grad students, and this one was talking about how her child hates the lunches that she brings to school. Like, it'll be like homemade sushi and like fresh vegetables and this, that, and the other thing. And like all the kid wants is like peanut butter and jelly, because
Yeah.
that's what everyone else has. And like she's
Right.
trying to have her child, have an open mind and, eat things that are close to the earth. And the kid's just like, no, I want white bread.
Right, because it's not popular, it's not common, and in our society, different means let's pick on you. You stand out. You know, you can't be the black sheep in the herd, because everybody looks at you and everybody, instead of running to you saying, "What can I learn from you?" Everybody's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
You know, and it's so, as a father, that's terrifying, because my son is a beautiful kid. You know, my daughter is too. She's, you know, but she hasn't developed to the point where, you know, I see that stuff yet. She's, you know, she just turned 1, but my son has his own real personality and stuff now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just a scary thing. I see Joel's back on the air. I think we may have audio. You with us, Joel? No, I saw some
Oh,
green
buddy.
flip for a minute, but we're close, close but no cigar. Joel, don't stress too much, man. We're rocking and rolling, and he's gone again. So, but yeah, Lori, it's tough. I mean, you know, being a parent and you know, just trying to find the best approach for parenting with your kids. It's never ever easy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
Right.
but it's a beautiful thing, along with all that fear and anxiety that comes with it.
Yes, because I mean, I imagine being a parent, your mistakes and missteps are a lot more heightened than, when you're single or even, married, committed to a partner, like having a little person that is just being influenced by you for good or bad.
Yep.
That's probably pretty intense.
I take less risks right now. Um, you know, I put up with a lot of BS on a lot of different fronts, and a lot of which I probably would not tolerate if I didn't have a family to worry about. Especially now, with, not that it's a huge platform, but with this platform, uh, you know, I can see me raising certain issues in certain forums that would be great for service of change, and would get probably a lot of viral type of attention. But I have a wife and kids to worry about, so I gotta bite my tongue a lot of times when I want to run my mouth. I want to be the provocateur sometimes, like Joel. I'm hoping he can hear me right now, but I don't know. Joel, you with us?
There is only one provocateur.
And he's back.
Just kidding.
Outstanding. There is only one true provocateur. You are right. Man, that was a journey for you to get back.
Yeah, it did. But yeah, what you were just saying, I have the luxury because of the type of job I have to be more provocative. So the grass is sometimes greener because
but the water bill is certainly higher, right?
No, I mean, because there's times when I want the type of job. I mean, I don't know. I could be just making presumptions, but more of a professional type job that usually comes with certain benefits that So there's a cost to everything.
There is, and you know what though, the way I feel I just feel so tied to this system, and I'm just tired of people telling me what to do, but I've been self-employed in the past where that was my only means of income for a little bit, and it's tough. It's tough being on your own. It's scary. It's overwhelming. Now if my business wasn't making a ton of money, so maybe if I had my own successful business, I'd feel a little bit different about it. I've got a couple irons in the fire right now that I'm hoping over the next year or so, becomes a little bit more lucrative for me. But yeah, the grass is. A buddy of mine told me that years ago when I first started working on my own. He says the grass is greener, but the water bill is definitely higher. I didn't know what he meant until 6 months into it. I was like, oh yeah, I get it. It's definitely a higher cost. But I long for the opposite. I long for that freedom, that independence. Where I don't have to be somewhere at a certain time unless I'm scheduling it. So it's tough though. Yeah. Tough stuff trying to decide that. We were just talking about we covered a whole bunch of stuff, Joe, while you were gone. But we can jump back into what you were getting ready to talk about because it sounds like you're having better audio. You were talking about I'll just summarize for a minute, but you've been doing some writing and it sounds like you're putting a memoir together. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about it is that I'm going to try to do it in a way that I haven't seen it done. In terms of I'm trying to make kind of like a song, so to speak. I'm trying to use music and what's called meter. I want my sentences, my words to have music to them. I want to tell the story of my song of my life. And
so you're writing basically a Broadway show about your life. No disrespect, dude. I'm sorry.
I can't sing a lick, so I don't know how that would work. I'm tone deaf. I can rap.
Put a hip hop flair to it,
I can rap, and no, some of it is rhyming. I mean, one of the things that I learned early on was about form and content. I think I may have talked about this in some of our other shows, but one of the best examples I was told about was this painting. I think it was by Goya, but it was a picture of a firing squad, and so on the canvas, the left side there was the soldiers who were shooting their guns to the viewer right, and so on the right side of the canvas is the people who are being shot, and it's a painting of them actually dying, being shot, and the artist chose to make the soldiers paint them in a way that they're very clear, almost realistic. And as you move to the right, it's became more hazy and more impressionistic than to a point of abstraction, because it was those people were dying, they were losing their form, and the soldiers' power of the state was the power to be seen, to exist. And so the way that the paint was actually applied to the canvas was a way to try to enhance the content of the message itself, what the painting was trying to say. So I'm trying. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. That's highly intelligent. It reminds me of a couple of things. People say that, not people. I mean, research shows that 97% of communication is nonverbal.
Absolutely.
So you have your inflection, you have your body language, the way in which you're saying, all these different things that add to levels of communication and what somebody's trying to say, what their intent is. And I got hit. I came across an old documentary. Is not the word. It was a lecture by a member of the Aztec bloodline, talking about his people's artwork and telling the story of what they went through. And I won't get too into it because it's probably enough to go do a whole show on it. But he's presenting the artwork of what at the time was labeled as the savages and the savagery. And once he explained it, he explained scientific concepts, and he related it to, this is the Chinese graphic representation of qi and feminine and masculine, yin and yang, and the Vedic and the Indian depictions, and it's actually highly intelligent. And then he goes in to show how physics is just starting to prove pretty much the same idea. It's just, they didn't use it in technical terms. They had more of a story format behind it, but they're expressing the same concept. Sure. All in a drawing of a man, holding something in his hand that just had all these different forms surrounding him. But it's like artwork. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, I wrote a book, and I felt so primitive with my craft compared to the artwork and the power. Once you understood what you were looking at, that just captured so much more, in one space, as opposed to reading 500 pages to understand my story. So there is a lot. So I like what you're doing. Is you're adding more to just read this story. There's meter to it, and that all invokes a different feeling and a different emotion to it.
And it's like, it's interesting because if I had my way, I would have gifts that I don't have, which are like, and one of the strongest points of your book Service for me was it's what's classically taught, what writers are classically taught to do, which is you give concrete details. Like as soon as I think of your book, I think of your description of the basement of that in Center City of that office, and I think there were bugs there, and it was sweaty, and there was a concrete pillar. Like you really brought the person to that place. I'm not very good at that. I had a published writer named Peter Carey who's won like worldwide prizes. He sat there in my graduate school and told me I wasn't that good of a writer in that respect. And at the time it was crushing, but as I got older I realized, well, you just have to work around that. Like obviously I've tried to get better, but the one thing I did have, and this was helped through like trying to become a hip-hop MC or trying to use that form. I have music in my voice, and I come from a lineage of orators. My grandfather used to do sermons, and my father, would tell stories, and I've had friends that were good storytellers, and I've had other like mentors who like churchgoers, or I've gone to like meetings where people speak in a certain way. So I definitely have music coming out of me, and so I can use that in place of the fact that I'm not that great at describing things. I'm just not that great at it. So I was very proud today because what you taught me, and other people taught me too, but you drove this home, was I have to be open to criticism. So I got my girlfriend to read what I wrote so far, and there were one section where I was describing things much better. She pointed it out. And so today I sat down and I'm like, well, I'm going to write something that was like that section, which was more descriptive. And when I was done, I read it, and I actually recorded it and put it's a 3-minute video on my YouTube channel, reading this section of the memoir. And I read it, and without even having tried, I was doing what I intended to do, which there has to be some kind of energy helping me. Because part of the idea of this book is it's going to be called 4 Steps. And in the 12-step program, we do a 4-step, which is we do a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. But I also want to play around with the idea of steps in poetry and in like Shakespeare's plays. They called it meter, and one of them is called iambic pentameter, and iambs were actually feet. So it's like when you tap your feet when you're listening to a song. Right. Boom, 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 boom. And as I read what I wrote, it had a meter that was 8 syllables long.
Wow.
It was coming out exactly how I wanted it to, like without me even trying. And so it's going to be a long journey, but I'm very inspired by your example and by Clark's example and by Lori's example, just to continue to just try to make this better and give it. You really helped me, and you were like, you got to give it time. And so each day I've been giving it a little time. I've been giving it an hour each day.
Yeah. Hey, that's awesome, dude. You know, one step at a time, one word at a time, one page at a time. You know, and you'll get there. That sounds like an incredibly challenging piece to write, but your heart's in it and your passion's in it, man. And that's what matters, man. Keep going with it. I'm excited to see this project progress. And you know, I know it goes without say, but anything you need, dude, let me know. I'll look at it. I'll do whatever I can.
Yeah, I plan to, you know, to get your help. It's going to be a collaborative effort. I have other people that offered help too.
Okay.
So.
Wow, that's
if anybody
exciting.
wants, I'm sorry.
Don't be. I just said that's exciting.
I was going to say, if anybody wants to check out, it's a 3-minute excerpt of about 2 pages. It's on my Joel Schaefer, JoelShafer.
You know what?
You can also find the Changecast there as well.
I was going to say, throw it up on. Why don't you throw it up on our social media feeds, and then throw it up on Joel's page as well. Just throw it in there, and then I'll publish it for you.
Thanks.
So put it in there, and we'll get that. You know, get that up there. So it'll be at serviceofchange.com/Joel's page. There should be links for it through the Changecast link. You can find it. So serviceofchange.com/Changecasts, and you'll find the links for Joel's stuff. I think there's links to his YouTube stuff on there too. So check it all out. I got to get in there and take a look. I'm slowly but surely trying to revamp stuff again, and include some of the stuff Joel's been working on, because he's got some good stuff going on. You know, some stuff I think that's pretty engaging. So check it out. When you get an opportunity, to our listeners out there. So definitely an exciting project, though, Joel.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing those results. So I'm trying to think what else I have going on, man. I don't have too much else. You know, we talked, you know, briefly before the show. I don't really want to get into it. Let me think how I can word this, though. I am probably going to put a YouTube video up, and I wrote an article. Not ready to release it yet, but long story short, I'm in the middle of a challenging situation for myself personally, dealing with a member of the law enforcement community who, in my professional opinion, has behaved in a manner that is unethical. So I'm trying to address this appropriately, and I'm just meeting, I'd say, passive resistance. You know, people aren't calling me back. People are giving me the runaround. You know, and it's minor things. So I guess to anybody out there that is a police officer, just please remember that every interaction you have with the public, you have an opportunity to develop an ally or to develop an enemy. You know, and I say that coming from my counter intel background, where, you know, kids were being recruited to kill Americans basically by giving them examples and pictures of U.S. soldiers doing less than favorable things. Whether they were justified or not doesn't matter, because all they were seeing was the negative aspects of it. And that's exactly what's happening with cops today. So every opportunity you have with the public, I need you to ask yourself, is this necessary? Is justice really being served in this situation? Or am I just trying to stack my numbers? You know, you were really at a time where you need to work on your PR. And I'm a avid supporter of police officers, but you need to start speaking up to those guys that you have on the road that are giving you guys a bad name. Start speaking up. Start reporting them to your supervisors. I get it. You don't want to drop dimes on people, so have a conversation with that person. Like, yo, dude, stop being a jerk. In all honesty, because enough is enough. And it just really hit close to him. I'll explain more about this once things progress a little bit further. I just don't want to get into it too much on the air. But there you go. Coming off my soapbox there. Thanks for listening. So,
you know, we did a whole show about a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
I think it was with Brian Barr.
Did a couple shows on it.
Yeah. And, you know, as time is going on, I've started to see things in a different light. And one of the things I struggle with so much, and I think other people struggle with this, is I think there's a quote from Aristotle, the sign of an intelligent, I'm probably totally paraphrasing it, maybe Lori can Google it and bring it up, but it's something to the effect that the sign of an advanced mind is the ability to have two different thoughts about the same thing, like maybe contradicting each other, and not necessarily believe them. And I'll go further and say that there's lots of different narratives about what's going on with policing in this country that would seem like they conflict with each other, and I don't think they necessarily conflict with each other. I think that it's just about being precise with language in terms of like, what are we talking about? Like, could cops do a better job? Absolutely. Is there systemic corruption at many different levels? Absolutely. But do sometimes the people who pull certain stories, do sometimes they deceive or lie by omission? Like, one example of that is a lot of people were getting upset. This gentleman in Baltimore ended up passing away, unfortunately, tragically, and he was arrested, and a lot of people were going on air on CNN, and they were saying that the cops had no right to pursue him. What had happened was cops were doing a beat patrol in a high crime area, and they made eye contact with him. And when this gentleman who passed away made eye contact with a police officer, he began to run.
He started running, yeah.
And the Supreme Court has said that in high crime areas, which is arbitrary, I understand, we can disagree with the Supreme Court, but I felt like that CNN was doing a disservice because they weren't pushing back. They weren't, like, without agreeing. The job of a reporter is they don't have to necessarily agree with it, but we have to agree about certain facts. So the fact of the matter is that they were within their legal rights to pursue him. So if people come on and say that they had no legal justification to pursue him, they can say that, but you can also come back with, no, the Supreme Court said that they were within their
right.
Because if we don't,
you're fading in and out again, Joel. You actually sound like you're singing a song with the way your mic's coming in and out. I don't think you can hear me. Can you hear me, Joel? Maybe I'm the only one hearing it, but Joel's coming in and out here. Not trying to laugh at the serious conversation he's having, but Joel, you still with me? Nope, think we lost Joel. I still see him on there, but I'm just going to piggyback on what he's talking about. The Supreme Court has ruled that in a high crime area, if somebody starts running from the police, that gives them enough reasonable suspicion to chase after that person and conduct a further investigation as to why they're running. And again, like Joel was talking about, I have conflicting opinions on that. I get that it's legal, and I have been in that exact situation. There's no reason for you to run unless you have something to hide. But at the same time, I don't know. I think I'm so frustrated with everything right now. I just my opinions are I'm going both ways on it right now. I really am. I don't know what happened. I think they said there's 30 minutes of unaccounted time where this guy was in the back of the van. They don't know how his larynx was crushed and all this other stuff happened. Joel, you back with us? Can you hear us? I don't know if you can hear us yet. So, but it's unfortunate that this young man died. I know that there's some major protests, but even the former chief of police of Baltimore came on and made a public statement saying that he disagrees with the way the police handled this situation. So he's saying that they were definitely handled this poorly, and that's unfortunate. And that's why I'm begging police officers out there. I know personally there's a lot of good cops. I know a lot. I don't know all cops, but just at least from my department that I still work for, there's some good people out there, man. So what I'm asking for you, talented and caring officers out there, you got to start calling out the jerks that you have on your squad, because those jerks are in all honesty, it's an officer safety issue, and they're getting people shot, or they're fueling fire to encourage people to take advantage of those targets of opportunity. And just given the situation that I was just in, what happened with me is I lost my ability to trust in this particular police department. I lost all trust for them because of a poor, unethical decision that was made. They were within their legal right to do what they did according to the law and police discretion, but it was the wrong call, and there was no need for it. So I've lost my trust in police, and I'm an advocate for cops. So that's what. So imagine if somebody didn't have my background and my experience, has one negative encounter with a cop, and a cop is a bit excessive in the way they handle it. It's a horrible thing right now that's going on. It really is. I see Joel's bouncing back in. You there, Joel?
Yeah.
There he goes.
Can you?
I can hear you. The way your mic faded out, and maybe it's just on my end, but the way your mic faded out, it brought your voice real high. Almost sounded like who's that? Says it Ti? That sings in his voice.
I was auto-tuning?
That's what it's called.
I can buy you a drink.
It's how it sounded, and you're like, and they
got money in the bank.
But it sounded like you were singing your explanation of, this guy with, dealing with the police. So I was like, man, of all things to sing about, it's a horrible situation. So we're coming up close to the end of our show anyway. So let's kick it over to any final thoughts that you have, Joel.
I just think that conversations about these things have to be conducted with care and attention, and that's so difficult to do, and that's where, we start off the show talking about how I've been trying to because it's a fine balance to learn and hopefully to teach, but for each moment that I provoked, I did create some kind of psychic residue, so to speak, or kind of like maybe a bad impression on somebody's part. Maybe I made somebody defensive. Maybe I was snarky with them. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe relationships were distanced or even broken because of my approach. So the idea that small change to try to keep dialogue going and to continue to try to see the best in people. It's so hard to see the best in people when you think that they're your enemy, and maybe they are your enemy. I don't know, but these categories that we put people in, we do it effortlessly. I've done it. People say the cops are the enemy. I'm like, well, you're my enemy if you think the cops are the enemy, because they're just good guys trying to protect me. You know what I mean? That's my reflex. So I'm like, well, then you're the enemy because you're saying all cops are bad, and they're going, well, the cops are all bad because they won't. And that's tribal. You know what I mean?
I think we're constantly divided. And we always feel this need to find the boogeyman, and the enemy. And the way I look at it is, I think that boogeyman is a shadow figure, because at the end of the day, we're both if we would just sit down and have a conversation. I look at most of these wars that are going on right now. I don't want to be fighting a war. I don't want our soldiers over there fighting a war. Why can't we just all come home, reinvest our money in our country, and start giving out food instead of bullets? We do that, and half the world that hates us right now would say, we love America. We don't want to blow you up anymore. I just, and I know I'm trivializing a lot of stuff that's going on in the world, but reality is we get wrapped up in some politician's BS drama a lot of times. I don't want to deal with all that stuff, but it affects us. And I think it's the same thing with there's just this boogeyman that's been created because somebody's different, and somebody says, oh, that guy's bad because he's different, and everybody starts to believe the hype. So small changes, like you said, Joel, and it starts with us, and you're a prime example how you've been working on just your basic approach to things. You said, I don't want to approach life this way. I'm going to try to change how I express myself and handle things, and it hasn't been an easy process for you, and you've had some moments of frustration throughout it, but listen, from our first show to now, you can hear just a difference in how you're handling things, and I think offering a lot of great advice for people out there in podcast land. So make those small changes, look at yourself, and identify who it is you want to be, and like I'm going to say at the end of the show, be that change. It's not going to happen in a day, it might not happen in a week, a month, it might not happen in a year, but every day make forward progress and you'll be good to go. So I want to go ahead and close out this show. It's been kind of just a freestyle ad-lib show. Our guests had to cancel at the last minute, so we'll try to reschedule that when we have a later opportunity. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you appreciate that the show must go on, and on it went. So big thank you to Joel. And Lori, you got about a minute. Any final thoughts you want to say? Lori's been tweeting for us this evening, sharing us on social media. So what do you got for us, Lori? Anything good?
Well, a lot of what you were saying near the end, and sorry, Joel, I couldn't find the quote. There was too much information on the internet. But
stupid internet.
What you were talking about near the end, it reminded me of a quote.
Oh well. Doomed from the start. We're gonna have to do some kind of astrological chart and see what happened on tonight.
I think so.
With the constellation, something was some weird mojo or juju was going on in the universe.
I agree. I felt it
disrupted our flow.
I felt it for the past 2 days. But Lori was in the middle of a thought. I don't know if you can hear Lori or not, Joe. I know you were having issues with that earlier.
Yes. So I was.
No, I couldn't hear her at all.
All right, she's speaking now, so I'll give you a cue when she's done. Hold on. Go ahead, Lori.
Okay. So what you both were touching on at the end reminded me of something that Fred Hampton once said, and Fred Hampton was a leader in the Black Panther Party, and he was murdered. But he once said, you don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with water. And, my takeaway from that is you don't meet aggression with aggression, you meet it with something, with the opposite approach. And, kind of the duality that you guys were touching on. So that's where my head is now.
And that's what we talked about, when we're talking about the targeted assassinations of police officers. Now, we were trying to encourage people not to get violent because violence just begets violence. It's the same thing. If somebody's violent and you fight them with violence, you're only going to have more violence on your hands. And Dr. King said something about that. Basically, I'm going to butcher his quote, but it was along the lines of, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can drive out darkness. It's the same thing, and love your enemy and things of that nature. Only love has the power to turn an enemy into a friend or something like that. So Dr. King, also a very insightful man. I take a lot of inspiration from the things that he said. So please keep that in mind, to our friends that are listening out there. Again, I'm going to go ahead and close out the show. Joel and Lori, as always, thank you for being so flexible with our format here and the way we do things. I know things are often up in the air with this, but we're continuing to move forward. To our friends and our listeners out there, I want to give a shout out to my boy Mike D. He's been very supportive of the show. He's been hitting me up, behind the scenes and just giving us words of encouragement and stuff. So I know he'll be listening on the iTunes podcast. So just a big thank you to you, Mike, for all your support and encouragement that you've shown for us. Please, our friends out there, please continue to like and share and support the show. All you got to do is click that share button, and please help support Lori. Purchase her book, The Art of Service. You can find the links to our social media feeds. And my book, I Am Human, serviceofchange.com/I Am Human. The book's called I Am Human, We Are Not Who We Think We Are. You can read it for free just by subscribing to my free newsletter. That's a great read as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the show. It's been a bit of a weird evening for us. Please remember that small changes among the masses can have a massive impact around the world. Be that change. Thank you.